My name is Isabella Martinez. I'm 38 years old, and for the past 12 years, I've lived in a quiet neighborhood in Phoenix, Arizona, working as what everyone believes is a part-time bookkeeper for small businesses. What nobody knows, not my husband Marcus, not our neighbors, not even my own sister, is that I'm actually the anonymous founder and majority shareholder of VortexTech Solutions, a cybersecurity firm that just hit $50 million in annual revenue. Marcus has no idea that the boring little accounting jobs I do from our home office are actually me running board meetings with Fortune 500 companies. But that's all about to change. Because last week, Marcus made the biggest mistake of his life. The notification sound from my laptop made Marcus look up from his PlayStation controller with annoyance. "Can you turn that thing off? I'm trying to concentrate here." I glanced at the screen. Another $2.3 million contract approval needed my signature. I minimized the window and smiled apologetically. "Sorry, honey. Just a small client needing their books balanced." Marcus rolled his eyes and turned back to his game. In his mind, I was Isabella the housewife who made maybe $800 a month doing data entry for mom-and-pop shops. He had no clue that the client was actually Boeing and that my little accounting work had just secured our largest government contract to date. We'd met 13 years ago at a coffee shop near ASU. Marcus was finishing his business degree, charming and ambitious, talking about his dreams of running his own company someday. I was already 3 years into building VortexTech, but I told him I was just a computer science student doing freelance web design. Back then, I thought it was romantic, the idea of supporting someone's dreams while quietly building my own empire. I funded his post-graduation celebration, his job search, even his first apartment, all while telling him the money came from my web design clients. When we got married, I kept the secret. I told myself it was temporary, that eventually I'd reveal everything when the time was right. But as the years passed and VortexTech grew from a startup to a major player, Marcus became comfortable. Comfortable taking the $2,800 I transferred to his account every month as household contribution. Comfortable never asking where the money for our mortgage came from. Comfortable assuming I was lucky to have landed such a successful provider like him. His current job at Phoenix Marketing Solutions paid him $52,000 a year. Decent, but not enough to cover our lifestyle. Not the BMW in our driveway, not the house in Scottsdale, not the weekend trips to Sedona he loved bragging about to his friends. I covered it all, silently, because I loved him. Or at least, I loved who I thought he was. The first real warning sign came on a Tuesday morning. I was in my office, what Marcus called Isabella's craft room, reviewing quarterly reports when I heard his phone ring in the kitchen. "Hey, gorgeous," he answered in a voice I hadn't heard him use with me in years. I froze, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. No, she's busy with her little computer stuff. She won't bother us. My stomach dropped. I crept closer to the door, straining to hear more. "Tomorrow at noon? Perfect. The Marriott downtown, same as always." The call ended. I heard his footsteps approaching, so I quickly sat back down and pretended to be engrossed in spreadsheets. "Working hard, babe?" he asked, pecking me on the cheek like nothing had happened. "Always," I managed to reply, my voice steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I hired a private investigator. Her name was Diana Chin, a former FBI agent who specialized in domestic cases. When I met her at a downtown cafe, she listened without judgment as I explained my situation, though I left out the part about VortexTech. As far as she knew, I was a bookkeeper suspicious of my husband's behavior. "How long do you want me to follow him?" Diana asked, sliding a contract across the table. "Until I know the truth," I said, signing with a hand that barely trembled. 3 days later, Diana called me with photo evidence. Marcus at the Marriott. Marcus holding hands with a blonde woman in the hotel bar. Marcus kissing that same woman in the elevator. Her name was Amber Price. 26 years old. A junior account manager at his office who'd been there for 8 months. 8 months. The same amount of time Marcus had been working late twice a week. I should have confronted him immediately. Should have demanded answers, filed for divorce, kicked him out. But something held me back. Maybe I needed to see just how far he'd go. How little he thought of me. I didn't have to wait long. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. I was actually on a video call with the Department of Defense, finalizing a $12 million contract renewal, when Marcus burst into my office without knocking. "Isabella, I need to talk to you." I quickly muted my microphone and turned away from the camera. "Marcus, I'm with a client. Can this wait?" "No, it can't wait." His face was flushed, his eyes bright with something I'd never seen before. Excitement. I made a quick excuse to my DoD contact and ended the call, hoping I could salvage the meeting later. "What's so urgent?" I asked, trying to keep the irritation out of my voice. Marcus sat down across from my desk, leaning forward like he was about to share the secret of the universe. "I'm leaving Phoenix Marketing." I blinked. "What? Why?" "Because I got a better offer. Amber, she's this amazing woman at work. She's starting her own consulting firm. She wants me to be her business partner." The room felt like it was tilting. "Business partner?" "Yeah. We're going to specialize in digital marketing for tech companies." "Isabella, this is it. This is my chance to finally build something real." I stared at him. He was glowing with enthusiasm, talking about building a future with another woman, asking me to bankroll it. "How much do you need?" I heard myself ask. 50,000. Just to get started. You know I'm good for it. $50,000. To fund his life with his mistress. "Where exactly do you think I'm going to get $50,000, Marcus?" He waved a hand dismissively. "You're always getting these random windfalls from your accounting clients. Big companies who pay late fees or whatever. You'll figure it out." Random windfalls. Like the $80,000 bonus I'd told him came from a client's late payment penalty, when it was actually my quarterly dividend distribution. Or the $45,000 tax refund. That was really my profit-sharing payout. "I'll think about it," I said quietly. Marcus stood up and kissed my forehead. "You're the best, Iz. I knew I could count on you." After he left, I sat in my chair for a long time, staring at the spot where he'd been sitting. The same chair where I'd made decisions affecting thousands of employees, millions of dollars, national security contracts. And my own husband saw me as nothing more than a personal ATM. That night, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to Diana Chun. "I need you to expand the investigation. Financial records, phone logs, anything you can get legally." The second call was to my lawyer, Patricia Reeves. "Patricia, it's Isabella. I need to discuss divorce proceedings. And I need to discuss them tonight. Before I tell you what I discovered next, I need you to do something for me. If you're enjoying Isabella's story and you want to see more content about people who fought back when they were underestimated, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, what's coming next is going to blow your mind, and you won't want to miss the other stories I share on this channel. Seriously, pause for 2 seconds and subscribe. You can thank me later. Over the next 2 weeks, I learned things about my husband that I'd never suspected. Thanks to Diana's investigation, I discovered that Marcus had been living a double life for almost a year. He'd been telling Amber that he was a successful independent consultant, not a mid-level employee. He'd shown her photos of our house, our cars, our lifestyle, claiming he'd earned it all through his business acumen. More damaging, he'd been using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms, expensive dinners, even a weekend trip to Vegas, all charged as business expenses to hide them from me. But the worst part? Diana had recorded a conversation between Marcus and Amber where he laughed about how clueless I was, how I worshipped him, how I'd fund whatever he wanted because I was desperate to keep him happy. "The woman has no backbone," he'd said, clearly audible on the recording. "She'd give me her last dollar if I asked. It's actually kind of pathetic." Pathetic. I listened to that recording 3 times, each word carving deeper into my chest. Then I deleted it and got to work. Patricia helped me prepare everything meticulously. Separation of assets, documentation of financial infidelity, and evidence of adultery. In Arizona, a no-fault divorce state, the adultery wouldn't matter legally, but the financial betrayal would. I also made some business decisions. VortexTech had been considering acquiring Phoenix Marketing Solutions for months. They handled our competitors' accounts, and we wanted to eliminate that advantage. I'd been hesitant because of Marcus's connection to the company. Not anymore. The acquisition papers were signed on a Monday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, I owned Marcus's employer. On Wednesday, I received the promotion reports. Every employee, including Amber Price, had been evaluated for retention or termination under new management. Amber's evaluation was particularly interesting. Multiple complaints about unprofessional relationships with coworkers, misuse of company resources, and inappropriate behavior during business hours. She was terminated effective immediately. No severance, no recommendation letters, and a notation in her file that would make finding another position in Phoenix nearly impossible. Marcus, meanwhile, had no idea any of this had happened. He'd put in his 2 weeks' notice the day before the acquisition was announced. Chapter 5. The Revelation. Friday evening, Marcus came home with champagne and takeout from our favorite restaurant. "We're celebrating," he announced, setting everything on our dining room table. "Amber and I officially filed our business license today. Martinez Price Consulting is officially real." Martinez Price. He'd given his mistress my married name for their business. "That's wonderful," I said, helping him set the table. "Tell me more about how this is going to work." Marcus was practically bouncing with excitement. "Amber's got all these connections from Phoenix Marketing. Once we launch next month, we'll probably land 3 or 4 major clients right away." "What about Phoenix Marketing's non-compete clauses?" He waved dismissively. "Amber says they never enforce those. Besides, what are they going to do, sue a startup?" I nodded thoughtfully. "And your investment?" $50,000, like we discussed. Plus, Amber's putting in 30. We're going to rent office space in the Biltmore district, really make a statement. "Marcus," I said carefully, "I need to tell you something about that 50,000. His expression shifted slightly. "What about it?" I pulled an envelope from my purse and set it on the table next to the champagne. "I can't give it to you." "What do you mean you can't?" "Isabella, we already talked about this. I'm counting on you." "I know. But the thing is, I don't actually have that kind of money lying around." Marcus laughed, but there was an edge to it. "Come on, Iz. You're always getting these big payments from clients. Just shuffle some things around." I opened the envelope and pulled out a single sheet of paper. "Marcus, I need you to read this." He picked up the paper, frowning. "What is this?" "It's a termination notice. From Phoenix Marketing Solutions." His face went pale. This can't be right. I already quit." "You can't fire someone who already quit." "Actually, this isn't your termination notice," I said calmly. "It's Amber's." Marcus stared at the paper, then at me. "How do you have Amber's termination notice?" I stood up and walked to my purse, pulling out a second envelope. This one was thicker. Because 3 days ago, VortexTech Solutions acquired Phoenix Marketing Solutions. As of Monday morning, I became Amber's boss. VortexTech. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. "That big cybersecurity company? How do you have anything to do with them?" I pulled out a business card from the envelope and placed it in front of him. "Isabella Martinez, founder and CEO, VortexTech Solutions." The silence in our dining room was deafening. Marcus picked up the business card, turned it over, set it down, and picked it up again. "This is a joke," he said finally. "This is some kind of sick joke." I pulled out more papers from the envelope. Corporate filings with my name and signature. Bank statements showing my actual salary. Board meeting minutes with my photograph. "For 12 years, Marcus, I've been running a $50 million company. For 12 years, I've been funding our entire lifestyle. The house, the cars, the vacations, your monthly allowance, all of it came from my company. Marcus was shaking his head, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror. The random windfalls you thought I got from small accounting clients? Those were my quarterly bonuses. The tax refunds? My profit-sharing distributions. Every dollar you've spent, every luxury you've enjoyed, every business opportunity you thought you earned, it all came from the woman you called pathetic. No, Marcus whispered. No, this isn't. You're just a bookkeeper. You work on little spreadsheets all day. I pulled out my laptop and opened my company dashboard. Real-time revenue tracking, employee counts, active contracts with major corporations and government agencies. Those little spreadsheets? I was managing Fortune 500 accounts. Those boring phone calls? I was negotiating million-dollar contracts. That craft room you thought was so cute? It's actually a fully equipped executive office where I run international business operations. Marcus stood up abruptly, knocking over his chair. Why? His voice cracked. Why would you lie to me for 12 years? I didn't lie, Marcus. I just never corrected your assumptions. And at first, I thought it was romantic. I thought I was supporting the man I loved while he built his own dreams. But I was building dreams. I was working towards something. With my money. Always with my money. And when you finally got your big break, your chance to build something real, you chose to build it with another woman. Marcus's face crumpled. Isabella, I can explain about Amber. It's not what you think. I pulled out my phone and played the recording Diana had made. Marcus's voice filled the room. The woman has no backbone. She'd give me her last dollar if I asked. It's actually kind of pathetic. When the recording ended, Marcus sat down heavily in his chair. You recorded me? A private investigator recorded you. The same investigator who documented your affair, your financial infidelity, and your plans to defraud me out of $50,000 to start a business with your mistress. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the pool I'd paid for, the landscaping I'd funded, the neighborhood I'd chosen. Marcus, I filed for divorce yesterday. You have 30 days to move out of this house. I've also filed a civil lawsuit for recovery of marital assets used in pursuit of an extramarital affair. The total amount, including interest and penalties, comes to approximately $127,000. When I turned back around, Marcus was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Who are you? He whispered. I'm the woman who loved you enough to fund your dreams for 12 years, I said. And I'm the CEO who just destroyed your future in 3 days. The next morning, Marcus was gone. He'd taken his clothes, his PlayStation, and the BMW, which I immediately reported stolen, since it was registered in my name and paid for with my money. Diana called me around noon with an update. Amber Price tried to file for unemployment benefits, but it was denied due to termination for cause. She's also facing breach of contract lawsuits from 3 Phoenix marketing clients who signed non-disclosure agreements that she violated while planning her new business. And Marcus, he spent the night at a Red Roof Inn. Tried to use your joint credit card, but it was declined. I'd canceled all our joint accounts the day before. Patricia had advised securing all assets immediately to prevent him from draining them out of spite. My phone rang constantly that weekend. Marcus calling, crying, begging, then angry, then threatening, then pleading again. I listened to the voicemails but never answered. By Monday, news of the Phoenix marketing acquisition had spread through the business community. The Arizona Business Journal ran a feature story about VortexTech's expansion strategy, complete with a photo of me in their offices. Marcus's friends started calling. His family, people who'd known us for years, suddenly realizing that the quiet woman they'd barely noticed at parties was actually more successful than all of them combined. My sister Rosa was the first family member to reach out. Isabella, what the hell? Mom just sent me a newspaper article with your picture. It says you run some massive tech company. I do. For how long? 15 years. I started it in college. Silence. Then, why didn't you tell us? I thought about that question for a long time before answering. Because I wanted to be loved for who I was, not what I had. And Marcus fell in love with who he thought I was. Turns out, who he thought I was someone he could control and use. When he found out who I really am, he couldn't handle it. Rosa was quiet for a moment. Are you okay? For the first time in weeks, I smiled. I'm better than okay. I'm free. Chapter 7. New Beginnings. 3 months later, I was sitting in my real office, the executive suite on the 15th floor of VortexTech Tower, when my assistant knocked. Ms. Martinez? There's a Marcus Rodriguez here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. I looked up from the defense contract I'd been reviewing. Send him in. Marcus walked into my office like he was entering a cathedral. His eyes took in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the conference table that seated 12, and the awards and patents covering one entire wall. Jesus, Isabella. This is really real. He looked terrible. Thinner, older, wearing a wrinkled shirt and jeans instead of his usual business casual. Diana had told me he'd been living in a studio apartment and working at a call center since his unemployment ran out. What can I do for you, Marcus? He sat down across from my desk, the same way he'd sat in my home office when he asked for $50,000. But this time, he wasn't glowing with excitement. He was broken. I messed up, he said quietly. I messed up everything. Yes, you did. Amber won't even take my calls. Turns out she was only interested in me because she thought I had money. When she found out the truth, she blocked my number and moved back to California. I said nothing. I lost everything, Isabella. My job, my business plans, my future. And I lost you. The only person who ever really believed in me. Marcus, I didn't believe in you. I enabled you. There's a difference. He flinched. I know that now. But Isabella, I'm asking, no, I'm begging for another chance. I understand now who you really are, what you've accomplished. I respect that. I can be the husband you deserve. I leaned back in my chair, studying his face. What exactly do you think you could offer me now? I could support your career. I could be the spouse behind the successful CEO. I could handle the house, the social obligations, whatever you need. So you want to be the house husband to a successful woman? His face reddened. If that's what it takes, yes. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out over Phoenix. From this height, I could see the neighborhood where we used to live, where Marcus thought he was the breadwinner, and I was his grateful dependent. Marcus, do you remember what you told Amber about me? Was I pathetic? That I'd give you my last dollar because I worshipped you. He winced. I was wrong. I was so wrong. You weren't wrong about what you saw. You were wrong about what it meant. I turned back to face him. I did give you everything I had. I did support your dreams unconditionally. I did put your happiness above my own. But it wasn't because I was pathetic or desperate. It was because that's what love looks like. I know that now. No, Marcus. You know that you need me now. That's not the same thing as understanding love. I walked back to my desk and pressed the intercom button. Security? Please escort Mr. Rodriguez from the building. He's not to be readmitted without an appointment approved by me personally. Marcus's face crumpled. Isabella, please. I love you. You love what I can provide. You always have. The difference is, now you know how much that really is. As security led him away, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, complete peace with my own decision. 6 months later, VortexTech was featured on the cover of Fortune magazine as one of the fastest-growing cybersecurity companies in America. The article mentioned my unconventional path to success and my commitment to maintaining privacy in both business and personal life. I kept the magazine on my coffee table, not out of pride, but as a reminder of what I'd learned. Success isn't just about building something great. It's about being brave enough to protect what you've built from people who would diminish it. I never remarried. Not because I gave up on love, but but because I finally learned the difference between being loved and being needed, between being valued and being used. Marcus tried to contact me a few more times over the years. Christmas cards with long handwritten notes, emails on my birthday, LinkedIn connection requests that I deleted without reading. I heard through mutual friends that he eventually found work as a sales associate at a furniture store, that he rented a small apartment on the other side of town, that he told people his ex-wife was crazy and had hidden money from him during their divorce. Let him tell that story. The people who matter know the truth. As for me, I'm still running VortexTech, still growing the company I built with my own hands, my own vision, my own relentless work ethic. Still proving every day that the quiet woman in the corner might just be the most powerful person in the room. And I'm finally, completely, authentically myself. Before we end this story, let me leave you with something important that Isabella's journey teaches us all. For 12 years, Isabella chose silence over recognition. She chose love over credit. She chose to build others up rather than claim her own achievements. And for 12 years, the person closest to her saw that generosity as weakness. But here's what Marcus never understood. The same intelligence that built a $50 million company was always watching, always learning, always 3 steps ahead. Isabella wasn't naive about his behavior. She was strategic about her response. The real power in Isabella's story isn't in the money she controlled or the business empire she built. It's in her ability to love fully while protecting herself completely. She gave Marcus every opportunity to be the partner she deserved. When he chose betrayal instead, she had already prepared for that reality too. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let someone reveal who they truly are. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's worst impulses any longer. Isabella's story reminds us that true strength often looks like patience. Real power sometimes appears as vulnerability. And the most successful people in the room are often the ones who don't need to announce their achievements. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been underestimated by someone close to you? Have you ever had to choose between protecting your own interests and maintaining a relationship? Drop a comment below and let me know. I read every single one. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and tell me where you're watching from. And if you want more stories about people who discovered their own power when they needed it most, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Because everyone deserves to know their own worth. And everyone deserves to be with people who see their true value. Thanks for watching, and remember, the quiet ones are often the most powerful ones. Don't underestimate them. See you in the next story. Arrangements. Arrangements. Like she was already gone.